Hello and welcome to the Unstoppable Joy podcast. I'm your host, Catherine McAdam, and I have with me today my husband, Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Great, hon. How are you doing?
Good, good. Glad that you are joining me today. We are doing a sort of a pop-up party. We're gonna take some questions from people have sent us lots of questions, and so we wanted to answer some questions today. And just get some clarity for people about what it is we do and who we are. And yeah, so do you have anything you want to share before we get going?
Well, I think basically to get started, I think a lot of people would like to know what functional medicine is, and how it's different from what most people experience at their regular doctor and things like that. And I don't think there's anyone more that I know of, at least more skilled at knowing both sides of it than you, since you're a nurse practitioner and a functional nurse practitioner. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in the medical field for, gosh, almost 20 years. If you count my early days when I was in high school, I actually went through CNA training and worked for a little bit as a CNA. And so, yeah, I've been around the medical field for quite some time and loved taking care of patients, loved working the floor, went back to get my master's in nursing and launching my career, thinking I'm going to be able to help people improve their health. And, um, you know, I and part of my story is I came across having my own health problems that there weren't answers for in the conventional medicine world. I don't know if many of you out there have ever experienced this, but I was having some stomach pain and was pretty scared about it. I mean, I had kind of checked all the boxes in my head about what could be, and actually had ended up in the ER a couple times because I had such severe stomach pain. Talk about scary. I thought, for sure my appendix is burst, or I've got some sort of blockage, or I've got some tumor. My mom had some cancer, and I was worried about that. And I was a single mom at the time, taking care of my kids, and really worried. And I know the whole there's a lot of anxiety around medical issues. People hate going to the doctor. People don't like going to the emergency room. Nobody does. But I found myself there, and um, they did all the scans, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And I think that's even scarier than, having an answer. At least if you have an answer of what's going on, then you can address it. But when they have no answers, and Joe, you've had some scary health issues, right?
yeah, I guess the most scary would be the brain surgery in 2016. That was for a pineal cyst, and that was extremely scary, just kind of out of nowhere. But everything went as amazing as it could be, thank God, and came out of it well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So you had a good outcome. So they were able to find something that was wrong with you and address it. And as a result, you feel better, right? That's the best
mhm.
case scenario. If if there is a good scenario about going to the doctor. But and there is definitely a need for conventional medicine, but they don't have all the answers. And so I had happened to come across information about functional medicine and some things that I could do in the natural to try to address my symptoms. So symptoms on their own are not a bad thing. It's your body's way that God designed to tell you that there's something wrong, right? And a lot of times we go to our regular doctor, a conventional doctor, and I was in this world, so I know, like, it's kind of like this pill for an ill mentality. And what happens is you go in with your symptom, and if they, can figure it out or not, they basically give you a pill to kind of deaden that symptom. And so you still have the symptom. The symptom didn't go away, but they gave you a pill to make the symptom less noticeable. And a lot of times you're on that pill for the rest of your life, and they never get to the root cause. So that is the big difference between conventional medicine and functional medicine. Functional medicine actually works to find that root cause, to see what in the world's going on. Why are you having this symptom in the first place? Um, and so for me, that stemmed with, my diet and my lifestyle. Like I was basically just you know, in horrible pain and like afraid to go out, afraid I was going to end up in the bathroom, stuck in the bathroom, how embarrassing that would be. And, I had this debilitating fatigue, and brain fog. I was just tired all the time. Like, and oh my gosh, it was miserable. Like talk about not being able to be like present with your family, with your kids. And at the time I had three teenagers. Oh my gosh, I can't, I don't wish that on anyone. But three teenagers at the same time. I love my kids, but man, it was a rough time and not being able to remember like conversations. I felt like I was losing my mind and I was really scared because my dad has dementia. So I don't know if anybody can relate with that. And maybe it's not, anything severe as that, but maybe there's just like you got aches and pains or you notice you got this rash that won't go away. Whatever it is, like there is a root cause, and that's what we help to figure out in functional medicine. And my aha moment was once I started incorporating some of the functional medicine principles. My symptoms were gone in a week. Now, mind you, I had gone through to the ER twice. I had been sent to the lady doctor and had multiple very painful procedures done trying to address the stomach pain I was having, and it didn't go away. And so I was left with all these bills and no answers. But in a week, I found relief. And at the end of that week, I had actually lost 8 pounds. And I was elated to be feeling better, to wake up and have energy, to that brain fog just lifted, and wasn't worried about being stuck in the bathroom anymore for sure. And that pain was gone, and so I was grateful and excited that I had gotten to the answers, but then also frustrated because man, like conventional medicine didn't have answers for me. And so that's what drove me to go back and get more training. I'm on my second certification with functional medicine, just to get a really deep understanding of how to best serve my clients. And that's why I've created our new program, right? Which is called the
Right.
Divine Edge. So it's all about faith and functional medicine. But
I think a lot of people, and especially our age, or just a little younger than us, or whatever, they think, well, this is how old I am. This is how I'm supposed to feel. You know,
Mhm.
I'm old. I'm supposed to be achy. I'm supposed to have a little brain loss, brain fog. But that definitely doesn't have to be the case.
No, it doesn't. And that is one of the lies that we believe, thinking, well, I'm just gonna end up like my parents. I hear it all day long from my clients, remembering in the hospital and even today, a lot of people believe that, well, my this is the way it went for my parents, and this is the way it's gonna go for me. They feel like they're locked into that trajectory, and that it doesn't have to be that way. There are things that you can do, very simple changes you can make to your lifestyle, your nutrition, to improve your health and change the trajectory of where you're going. Um, yeah. So your mom was one that we think about that often. Um,
Mhm.
and she has passed away, and she passed away quite young. How old was she?
65, which is only 11 years away from me, so it doesn't seem possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she could have definitely used us and your knowledge, especially.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she was just such a blessing to people, and everybody loved her, and it's just, yeah, it's sad.
Yeah. My parents too, they're both gone. They lived older than your mom, but they were very sickly. My mom not only had heart surgery for the first time when I was open heart surgery when I was in junior high. She had open heart surgery another at least one more time after that, and ended up with a pacemaker defibrillator. She ended up going through cancer. Um, yeah, and in the end, she had an infection, her kidney shut down. So, you know,
Yes.
and then my dad, like he was very sedentary. He was very smart and very professional and very successful. But he had a very sedentary lifestyle, and he was very overweight. And he ended up, with back issues and not being able to get around, and that really changed the course of his life. He lost
Well,
independence and
I'm sorry about that. It wouldn't, it just seemed like when he got sedentary, it seems like it affected more than just his body too. It affected his mind, and he was one of the sharpest people. You know, I got to know him well, when we were dating and getting married, and then because he was so sedentary, it just seems like he really how do you want to term that? I don't
he
know. It
declined.
really affected his whole body and his mind and everything like that. And
Yeah, yeah. And studies show that, if you have if you're the more you move, the better you have as far as your brain function and just your ability to get around. So many people die young or lose mobility, and they end up not having a good quality of life. Like they are stuck in the nursing home or having someone care for them all the time. My dad ended up with dementia, and so that's also like something that, it is very preventable. I know that there's been a lot of research out there. They're trying to figure out the root cause, but they're actually calling it type 3 diabetes, which if that is true, which I believe it is, then it is absolutely reversible. Like it can be addressed before it gets into that state. So yeah. So
just let's come up with a little a more uplifting right here. How about some energy? How can I get some energy in my life, you know?
how
Uh
can you get some more energy? One of the biggest things that I talk to my clients about is drinking water. And water is something that so many people don't drink enough of. Um, and then also drinking filtered water. So there is a lot of junk in the water. The city water, they put chemicals in it to sanitize it, that sort of thing. But the levels that they're putting that's acceptable is actually dangerous. And so you like even if you have city water, you would think it'd be safe. You need to have a filter on your water. Um, and then just making sure that you get enough in every day. Um, you really should drink enough so that your urine is clear, light yellow. That's kind of the rule of thumb.
okay.
You don't
Do you
think
hear what is
Sorry, I just
someone's
want to add there that, water is one of those things that if you don't have enough of, you can feel fatigued. You can feel tired. And it's part of your detox process of your body. Your body flushes out infection. And, a lot of people who are, that have like, this is just an example. If someone has a kidney infection or a bladder infection, it can change their personality. They can, uh, have a level of consciousness changes, which we call LOC changes. And that's one of the signs that we look for in elderly people, is to see if they have an infection. And drinking enough water is one of those things that keeps those kidneys flushed. So,
okay. Let's see here. We've got some questions about like brain fog and what are some causes of brain fog?
so brain fog can be any number of things. It can be toxicity. It can be, again, dehydration. It can be lack of sleep. Um, it can be hormonal imbalance. It can actually be sometimes people have food sensitivities or food allergies, and it can cause that brain fog. I think the biggest one that I've experienced and that some of my patients have been able to get relief from is the sleep aspect. When you're not sleeping well, when you get into that deep sleep, the REM sleep, that's when your body detoxes. It's your brain also detoxes at that time too. And if you don't have good quality sleep, then that can lead to having that fog, that brain fog. So yeah, so definitely having good sleep hygiene is really important. By that, I mean having a consistent bedtime, making sure your room is cool and dark, and yeah, so.
Nice. Let's see here. Um, and leaky gut. What kind of is that all about?
So leaky gut, when I first heard this term, I thought it meant someone was pooing themselves. That's not what it means. So yeah, so leaky gut. So what happens for many reasons, but a few of the reasons that you can have leaky gut is stress and your diet. So leaky gut is the technical term for this is hyperpermeability of your colon. And so your colon acts as a filter. Okay. It allows digested food nutrients to get into your bloodstream, and the waste, it then flushes out of your body. What happens in leaky gut is you have these junctions, they're called tight junctions, and they stay closed. What happens is in leaky gut, these are open. They don't have that the guard, for lack of a better term, at these junctions that monitor what goes into the bloodstream. So imagine they're called villi. They're on in the lining of your gut, and in this lining is these junctions. And there's bacteria that actually maintain this mucous membrane that protects these villi, and if that gets disrupted from either infection or viruses or just inflammation from what you're eating or stress, then these junctions open up and they let undigested food and bacteria into the bloodstream. What happens then is, say you had broccoli that day, and now you have like ground up, partially digested broccoli and bacteria that's then seeping into your bloodstream. Your body sees that, it does what it's supposed to be doing. It tags that as a foreign body to protect against that. And so it starts to basically react against what's in the bloodstream. So you're not ever meant to have ground up broccoli in an IV directly into your vein. And that's sort of what's happened on a minuscule scale.
Okay.
Um, but it doesn't matter, your body still tags it. Then the next time you have broccoli, even though maybe you've never had trouble with broccoli in the past, your body will react to it. And so this leaky gut issue, what happens is over time, this will trigger autoimmune conditions in the whole body. Things like rheumatoid arthritis. It can cause, again, that brain fog, that fatigue, and just gut issues, diarrhea, constipation, um, like those joint pains and that sort of thing, like that autoimmune, like thyroiditis, all that stuff. And it's crazy, but they are actually coming up with new autoimmune conditions like every day. And it's really all stemmed back to the health of our gut and what we're eating.
Oh, second brain, right? Your gut.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, with a leaky gut, and all these autoimmune conditions, it's so important that we address these before they get out of control. Because once you get over into the autoimmune, it then a body is basically attacking itself and causing damage to itself. Um, and so that's why it's good to get testing. One of the things that we do in functional medicine is we do advanced labs. Now, these are labs that your doctor wouldn't necessarily order. They aren't, a lot of times they aren't funded by your insurance company because let's face it, the insurance companies and big pharma, they're out to make money, and they don't make money if you're healthy. So a lot of these tests aren't paid for by your insurance company, unfortunately. I'm hoping that that will change in the future, but right now they do not pay for many of them. And so we do things, we look at the health of your gut, we look at your hormone levels, we look at do you have mold toxicity, heavy metals, like any of these endocrine disruptors, like the plastics and stuff. You can actually look at your hormone levels. There's testing now that you can look at your hormone levels, and they actually will also, the same test will also show you what endocrine disruptors may be affecting your hormone levels. And the information that you get from that is invaluable, because then you know how to go after that. And that's where we come in. We work not only to get these tests for you, and this isn't just some blood work. This is stool testing, urine testing, that sort of thing. And, a lot of people end up coming to me with, hey, I got these tests done. I ordered them online, and, they sent me this printout, but now I don't even know what this means or really how to implement what they're saying to me. And so, again, that's where we come in. That's where we help people to, formulate a plan and, know what to do going forward.
Nice. Someone said here, functional medicine is like looking upstream. It says your migraines aren't a Tylenol deficiency. Your fatigue isn't a coffee shortage. Your body is talking. Functional medicine helps you understand the language. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So,
Yeah, I think you cut out a little bit at the beginning of that. What was the first part? Sorry.
as it's about functional medicine and how it looks upstream, like the problems and the root causes, the migraines aren't Tylenol deficiency, your fatigue isn't a coffee shortage, your body's talking to you.
Mhm.
And functional medicine is, kind of trying to understand the language of what your body's trying to say to you.
Yeah. Yeah, God created our body in just an incredible way. It has an innate intelligence. It has the ability to heal itself. But I was thinking about this last night. I'm always thinking about, health and wellness, as it relates to, faith. And a lot of times people, that are in the church, they are praying for a miracle. They're praying for health. And, they, have a bad diagnosis. And so they go to church, and they're seeking God for health and wellness, which, you know what? I've been there. I get it. But I think a lot of times we go to God almost like we think we don't we wait till it's bad. We go to God like he's an emergency room doctor, right?
Hmm.
Like, now it's really bad. Now I'm in the emergency room, and now I need your help. And believe me, I've prayed with a lot of people, at the bedside, seeking help, seeking healing when they've gotten that hard news, the bad report, but God wants to walk with us every day. He doesn't want to just be there in the crisis moments. And that's one of the things that we really try to help our clients do is we really help them to instill these good habits and these good practices that will not only improve their health and their wellness, but also help them reconnect with the divine creator, which is God. And I feel like so often in America, in wherever, we have made a god of the medical field. And, as COVID unfurled, and, as we've seen, the doctors, they're not the gods that we've set them up to be. They don't know all the answers. And, our Heavenly Father, He's called the Great Physician, and he is so willing to help us. And he's given us direction in his word. And that's a big part of what we do here, as well as making that bridge between, what science is saying, which so much is basically reflecting, yep, that's what the Bible's been teaching us for years. And so,
Yeah, right.
um, yeah, using the two together is just a superpower. And I feel like, well, I know so many programs out there. People have been like, well, I've been on so many diets, nothing's worked, and I just am accepting that this is the way I am. And, I'm just kind of like, well, whatever, I'm going to end up like my parents, or, like we've said before. But, when you join with God, when you invite him into your health journey, there's power there. There's blessing there for doing things God's way. And that's like I said, that's a big part of our program. That's who we are as individuals. We pray with our patients. We help them walk through things, and get them the results that they need.
Yeah, and for ourselves every morning, declarations, and being grateful. Those
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe how much that will help as a preventive versus waiting for the emergency room fix and the severe illnesses and things like that. So,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, back to the leaky gut, it doesn't matter. They've shown, like science has proven that it doesn't matter like how good your diet is or how good your, exercise or your supplement routine. If your body is in this fight or flight mode, if it's stressed out, then you will not be healthy. Um, and it will cause inflammation in your body. So just the stress alone can cause inflammation. And one of the things it does is when you're stressed out, it draws the blood away from your intestines. And so that chronic stress basically eats away at the integrity of your gut, and can cause leaky gut. So addressing that cortisol, so that fight or flight, we live in a world of like this fight or flight. Like we are, COVID was a big threat, and everybody was freaking out about that and anxious and, do I get the vaccination? Do I not get the vaccination? Do I trust this person? Do I trust the CDC? Whatever, right? And and so, life is stressful, right? Jobs, kids, family, they're all can be sources of stress. And when we are in this fight or flight, our body, it doesn't prioritize digestion. It doesn't prioritize our sex hormones. It doesn't prioritize sleep, all these things. Like it prioritizes you being able to move your muscles and run really fast away from danger. Um, Even if the danger is not seen, your body interprets that. It can't, your subconscious mind, your body hears all of these thoughts that are going through your head, and it doesn't know the difference between what's true and false. It doesn't know what's reality and not. And so it will react to what you believe is reality. And so even perceived threats, even perceived like worries and concerns and anxiety, that raises the cortisol level, and it decreases your body's ability to do those rest and digest things, which is like, like I said, digesting your food, but also your sex hormones. So many people, just because of their stress level, have issues with fertility. It's crazy. So,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of chat going on here, going back and forth and things like that. So, some people said symptoms aren't punishment, they're invitations to go deeper on what could be causing things.
Mhm.
And then also healing often happens when we address not just the physical, but the emotional and spiritual roots too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, those are great takeaways.
all
It,
right, you go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, what are some of the top three tips that you might give us that somebody could just kind of take away today that would help them improve, in the next week or so? Nothing, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
easy things to do that you'll notice a difference.
Yeah. So the top three things that you can do is number one, prioritize sleep. Like I said, that is your body's time to detox. It's time to do all those reparative functions, that it needs, and prioritizing that sleep, having a regular sleep time. Make sure your room is cold and dark. I'm saying like around 65 degrees is what they're showing is optimal, and making sure it's dark. And that there's not distractions, even like moving your phone away, so it's not going to be buzzing or beeping, or the light of it sometimes will keep you up.
Baseball games.
Baseball games, yes. Baseball games are an issue right now, disrupting my sleep. Um, Anyway, so that's number one. Number two is drink some water. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's a big one for a lot of people. They just, and try to, if you don't like the taste of water, add some lemon or some, even some crushed berries in there. But really try to avoid all those additives. I see a lot of people doing that Crystal Light or I think it's Mayo or Mio, just
Mhm.
that flavor, water flavoring. It's supposed to have like, electrolytes or whatever. And really all that stuff is just hard on your kidneys. And those chemicals, your body has a hard time clearing those chemicals. So yeah, and it causes stress and it causes inflammation. And there's so many people out there that are having issues with their bladder and this oh gosh, there's something, it's a chronic inflammation of the bladder, and it's painful, and it makes people feel like they have a bladder infection all the time. And I truly believe it's just all the junk that we eat, and your body's trying to clear it. And those, and so that leads me to number three, eat clean. If you can, eat clean. Avoid packaged, processed, sugary things. You know, high fructose corn syrup, to me, it's the devil.
Yeah, right.
It actually has mercury in it, which is like mind blowing. So I don't know if you know what mercury. Mercury is a neurotoxin. And it, I've said this before, it's just like it sticks in my mind as such a good example. The Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. He was called the Mad Hatter because he was exposed to mercury through the production of those hats. They would actually use mercury to form the dome of the hat. And then they would wear the hat that had mercury in it. They would, ingest it, breathing it in, and it would be on their skin, and it caused neurologic damage. But so many of the food additives and the colors and all that stuff, I know RFK is working on this, and praying that things continue to be banned in our country, as they are in other places of the world. But man, it's try to avoid those things as much as possible. Even if you take maybe, your first thing in the morning, your coffee. I know, don't mess with the coffee, right? Coffee has a lot of benefits. It's got a lot of antioxidants in it. It's really good for you, in moderation. But what's not good for you is all the creamer, especially the non-dairy creamer. It's just a bunch of chemicals that wreak havoc on your system. So just start small. Start very doable things, like start small. Try even just using like maple syrup, or honey instead of that fake creamer, and all those chemicals. Having something natural, like, you can have in little increments or in small amounts, you can have natural sugar, that sort of thing, but it shouldn't be a staple of your diet. It shouldn't be the only thing you're having. So,
I think the only thing I'd add to that list is movement, getting out and getting some exercise or something like that too. But yeah,
mhm. All right. Well, I wanted to kind of wrap things up here and say, we've been talking about a lot of fun stuff here, right? Leaky
yeah,
gut,
right.
a lot of fun. Um, but we love having fun, we love laughter, and we love being together with people. And so one of the things that we do every week now going forward is we will be doing our podcast as a live. And if you want to be involved in that and ask your questions live, like we've done here, you're welcome to join us. So be a part of the production of our podcast. So we get kind of like sneak peek into the back door of what we do here. And so you can ask our guests, you can ask us questions in real time and get them answered. But if you can't meet up with us, go ahead and send us your questions to team@catherinemcadam.com. And if you want to join in, we will be posting the link for our next podcast party, right? Where you can join in and be a part of the podcast. I think that's pretty cool. How about you, Joe?
I think that's great. Yep.
I
Looking
think it's gonna be
forward
a
to
lot of
it.
fun going forward. I can't wait to learn and grow and have fun with people, and get their feedback and get the conversation going around faith and functional medicine. So we thank you for being here. I thank you for being part of this, listening to this. If you have been blessed by this, be a blessing and share it with someone else. Like, comment, and share it, because the more we get the word out about health and wellness, gosh, we could have saved lives, like Joe's mom. Like, if we just, it's mind blowing to me. If we had only been able to help her, she'd probably be here today. Most
Right.
for sure, she'd be here today if we were able to help her with this sort of thing. So, anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope you found this informational and educational um, and inspirational. So, have a great rest of your week.